Emergency episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Tim Donnelly, Dennis Cox here with you. All right, Carolina Panthers have a head coach, Dave Canales.
There you go.
Offensive coordinator from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got that young offensive coach, I guess, right? It's something that they maybe have gotten last year, but now it looks like they have it, Tim.
With Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick still out there, I think that's where the pipe dreams went. But Canales is an interesting candidate for a whole bunch of reasons.
Why?
And I said candidate.
Higher.
Interesting head coach.
Higher.
Interesting head coach for a whole bunch of reasons.
Why?
First of all, how ironic is it that the Panthers are hiring a head coach in part because he was able to rebuild Baker Mayfield, who you could say crumbled to his lowest as a Carolina Panther.
Go figure.
So it's like, hey, we tried with this guy and it didn't work. We know how hard that is. You were able to make it work with him. That's impressive. Why don't you come and bring that quarterback guru to us?
And also, he was in Seattle in 2022. Well, actually, his role in 2022 in Seattle was being the quarterback coach. And we all saw the resurgence of Geno Smith's career. Like, oh, that was the best season that Geno Smith had in his entire career. Okay, Dave Canales, you were a big key part of that. And he was also in Seattle for a long time when Dan Morgan was there.
The time in Seattle is the actual interesting part of it.
Yeah.
In Tampa, he rebuilt Baker Mayfield. That's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back to him getting a head coaching opportunity. But the bulk of the work was what you said in Seattle. And the bulk of it was when Dan Morgan was there. If you look at the last, I think it's, 3 years, 4 years, he's had pretty good runs with Russell Wilson.
Yep.
He's had pretty good runs with Geno Smith. He's had pretty good runs with Baker Mayfield. So this is a move for Bryce Young. That's what this is. It's a move to right. He's the bar rescue guy, right?
Yeah.
He comes in and he goes, "Oh, your quarterback's not working. Oh, here's what you're doing wrong. Oh, Geno Smith's not working. Here's what he needs. You need to knock out that wall. You need to fire your chef. You need to bring in a better special drink or whatever." I don't know. I don't watch Bar Rescue. But he's reclaimed a couple guys, and that's what they need. They need to reclaim the potential of Bryce Young.
And Dave Canales' coaching history even goes back to USC when he was there, when Pete Carroll was there. He spent one season as a strength coach, actually, with USC. But when Pete Carroll went from USC to Seattle, Dave Canales followed him, was a longtime wide receiver coach, then became a quarterback coach, was a passing game coordinator for a bit before eventually becoming an offensive coordinator for a year. But that's the key thing, I think, in a lot of this is that he was only a coordinator for 1 year. Now, just because you're a good coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. We've seen that throughout the history of football. Like, oh, he's a great coordinator, head coach. Doesn't always necessarily work out. But sometimes a really good positional coach might have what it takes to actually be a good head coach, a la Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was never a coordinator, but you know what? It worked out.
And quite frankly, if you're looking for an offensive mind to be your head coach, you're not going to find an offensive coordinator that's been the OC at any place for, the last 5 years.
Yeah.
1 or 2 years is the most you can ask for. We talked about it yesterday on the afternoon show. Every single offensive coordinator in the NFL, every single offensive coordinator job in the NFL has changed over since the 2021 season. So nobody that was hired before 2022 is still the offensive coordinator in the same position.
Wow.
So you're getting Dave Canales off of 1 year as an OC, but the most experienced in their job OCs in the league right now are 2 years. So if you want an offensive minded guy, unless you're going with like a Kellen Moore or something like that, who's bounced around but has been an offensive coordinator for a while, there's just not going to be a lot of experience. And the benefit of going offensive guy is, let's say they have a great year. I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, let's
say they are next year's Texans.
Theories. Okay. All right.
Because the Texans were
I don't think Panthers fans would hate that.
One of the worst teams in the league last year. They won a playoff game this year. If that happens, you don't have to worry about the offensive mind that flipped Bryce Young and that offense around, leaving for a head coaching job, the way the Texans are right now with Bobby Slowick. They're going, oh, no, we might have to lose one of the guys that's a secret sauce. If Dave Canales and Bryce, if they click, you'd be looking at it for the next 10 years, those two guys, right? Unless, Canales goes full McVay and threatens to go to Amazon or something crazy like that.
He might.
But now we're getting into pipe dreams. My point is, if the offensive scheme works, you don't have to worry about the offensive scheme leaving when it's the head coach's scheme. When the offensive scheme works and it's the offensive coordinator's scheme, you're immediately terrified that someone's going to hire him away.
And then, like, for example, Shane Steichen hired away from the Philadelphia Eagles to be the Indianapolis Colts head coach. We saw they're already going to be onto another offensive coordinator because they fired Brian Johnson.
the Lions are on a run right now,
with
and Ben Johnson, one of the hottest names out there in coaching, probably won't be back, and they're gonna have to figure it out. So, but I'm not saying Dan Campbell wasn't the right guy. Obviously, he was. But if Ben Johnson was the head coach, you wouldn't be as worried about him leaving.
All right, real quick, let's get into the structure that we're now seeing with the Carolina Panthers. It was a Sportsology, I believe, was the firm that was hired. So Sportsology, the firm that was hired to put together, they're the search firm that David Tepper brought in. Like, all right, how we actually, let's figure out who the GM is going to be. Let's figure out who the head coach is going to be. The structuring of the front office.
Some might say Tepper, so I know who to blame when it doesn't work, and it's not my fault I hired Sportsology.
There you go.
Some might say. I'm hearing it in the streets.
Yeah, in the street. He could pass the blame along to someone else. But nonetheless, they're structuring the way their team is put together. Because again, Dan Morgan and Dave Canales have a history together, long time together in Seattle. They're structuring kind of like the way San Francisco is structured, because that's through Sportsology. That's how they put together John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and the way they structure the front office with another like salary cap contracts person as a buffer between the owner and general manager. That's the exact way that the San Francisco 49ers are structured.
You're exactly right. Sportsology was part of the hiring crew that put together San Fran, and it's worked. So, hey, let's run it back, right? Like let's follow that blueprint. That's what they've done with the Panthers. Dan Morgan and Dave Canales having a prior relationship means that they like each other beyond a Zoom and an interview, which in a lot of cases, you're hiring a coach off of watching their tape, watching their offense, watching their defense, whatever they call, which is good. Like, you learn about their football philosophies, but you don't know if you like him as like a dude, right? You don't know if when you're grinding tape before the draft at 11 a.m. on a random Tuesday in the middle of the offseason, if you're going to be like, I want to pop this guy's head off. These Canales and Morgan, no, they like each other. They've been around each other for the better part of a decade.
Well, it's a good enough working relationship.
Did they interact? Were they best friends and roommates? I've absolutely no clue what they're off the facility relationship is, but they like each other enough that they were willing to enter into this, which is probably the best news of the Canales hire. Is maybe outside of his work recently rehabilitating quarterbacks, is that he and Morgan, they should be able to work well together.
You would hope.
You would hope there's a shorthand of, hey, this guy's one of us, and they both know what that means, rather than, I like this guy because let's sit down, let me show you the film, let me show you this, let me explain why I like him. It's just, hey, he's one of us. Get it done. GM goes and gets it done. Or, hey, this guy's one of us. Do you need a 6'4" wide receiver in the third round? Like, they can have those conversations starting on second base rather than having to hit a home run.
We'll see how it all works out. And I think a lot of Panthers fans have every right to be. I'm firmly on skeptical.
I think skeptical is generous.
Based off of who the owner is. Simply off that. Like, you know what? Until it works, I'm going to be skeptical. Simple as that.
I still don't love the Dan Morgan decision because they stayed in-house. At least they didn't stay in-house with the head. There will be some fresh, not right. That's not right.
Figure it all out. Stay tuned here on 99.9's YouTube page. Again, keep it locked in. We're definitely going to have a lot of content coming. But in the section, leave your thoughts down below. Good hire, bad hire. You like it, hate it, you're indifferent. Let us know in the comments and subscribe also down low. We'll have more Panthers playbook for you to stay locked in here on 99.9 The Fan.